Hi, this is Les Posen, clinical psychologist from FlightWise Fear of Flying Clinic. I want to talk to you today in this brief video about something we in the therapy trade call safety behaviours. It's especially important in understanding and the treatment of anxiety. It's not just about flying, by the way. It could also be about other situations in which you experience strong levels of arousal, discomfort that leads to avoidance. Avoidance might mean leaving the situation once you're in it, or planning how to get out of it, or planning how to minimize your distress using distractions and other calmness-inducing scenarios, which I've described in previous videos. But the hallmark of all of these things is avoidance and the seeking of safety. If we imagine, for instance, that an aircraft is now on its descent, you as a passenger have heard the engines coming back, the plane is now much more silent, you can feel that we are descending, and in fact the crew, whether it be the cabin crew or the flight crew, come onto the PA and say, we're now on our descent into name your destination, and then you hear cabin crew prepare the cabin for landing, and an automatic thought might be, wow, it's almost over, I'm just about there, just hang in there for a little longer. Then as the plane touches down and you hear the roar of the engines go into reverse thrust and lots of braking action, lots of things happening which on takeoff might be actually quite frightening for you, but on landing, same kind of energy, but because we're on the ground, you can surmise I'm now safe, or I don't have 8 or 10, or in Australia at least 14 hours of discomfort or potential discomfort to put up with. And so the feeling that one might have on touching down is a sense of relief. There may also be some automatic thoughts, and this is also part of safety behavior, that say, thank God this is over with. And I think it's probably a mistake to perpetuate, one, the sense of relief that we've landed safely and that I'm in one piece and we're here at my destination, and two, to not take credit for I got here, what I did works. This is what happens in therapy, by the way, that patients learn. What's the best thing to say? Otherwise, one is left with safety behavior. The difficulty here is that when you say, thank God that's over with, and you experience very strong physical sensations of relief, a part of your brain that calculates threat in the limbic system, midbrain, older part of the brain, says, if I'm feeling relief, having escaped a situation, that situation by definition must be dangerous. And so your levels of threat response go up in preparation to go into that situation a second, third and fourth time, which is why people, as time goes on and don't address this situation, tend to get worse the more often they fly rather than better. This would appear to fly in the face of what we know about learning, which is the more often you do something, the better you get at it. Well, unfortunately, what's getting better when this is the way you handle your flying is you get better at being switched on, that is, more aroused to things that don't require a threat response, but you become more easily aroused, more readily to lower stimuli. In other words, it may have required lots of movement in the plane for a turbulence-fearing passenger to become upset. Now it's simply the sound of bing bong and the captain or first officer saying, seatbelts please, even in smooth air, and already the alarm bells have gone off. And this is how things seem to get worse the more often it happens. That means that people then engage in what we call safe behavior. So one of the first things one has to do, in my position helping people in the domain of anxiety, is to try and understand what are the safety behaviors that they've employed. Sometimes they've actually thought through this. I need to do this, this and this before I can board that plane. Classic safety behavior might be, I need to go to the restroom 5 times before I board. It can almost become ritualistic. Why? So that I don't have to get up out of my seat in the plane during the flight. That might be okay for an hour and a half flight, Melbourne to Sydney, LA to San Francisco. It will not work on a 14-hour flight, I can tell you. You're going to have to get out of your seat just for health reasons, just to move around. So that's a safety behavior. Another one for people who suffer with claustrophobia or fear of being in enclosed spaces and not being able to escape at will. The theme often is, the safety behavior often is, I will board very late, almost last. That way I can minimize the distressing time between doors open, sitting down, and doors closing, and we're on our way. That I can kind of manage, compared to the idea of walking on board and then maybe having a half an hour of understanding, do I stay, do I go, do I stay, do I go with that door open? Okay? It might be an interesting safety plan, but unfortunately, in the world of commercial aviation, it can get thwarted quite easily. So you time it really well, the doors close, and then the captain or whoever comes on and says, look, we're going to be sitting here on the tarmac for a little while. There's a thunderstorm coming through. We've been told by air traffic control we're going to sit here. It could even be at your destination, which is an hour away, that there's a thunderstorm destined to go into that place when you're arriving. So rather than getting up and simply having to circle around, they'll keep you on the ground. So that lovely plan can come undone quite easily. There have been times when I've had advantageous tailwinds or not so bad headwinds heading into Los Angeles from Melbourne. We arrive 45 minutes early. I think, wow, terrific. Maybe I can make that earlier connection to New York, and then we're stuck on the tarmac in some waiting area for 45 minutes because our gate is not yet free. We're too early, or the other plane that's there is not leaving on time. And now I've got 45 minutes sitting in a plane, can't get out. This requires a plan. Other forms of safety behavior on board a plane. I need to sit either in the aisle, or I have to avoid the window, or I can only be in the window. When you set up rules that say I can only do it this way, ask yourself, is it because the plane will travel more safely, or is it because I'm trying to diminish my discomfort? The task of any form of fear of flying treatment has to be, no matter what happens in regular, normal, commercial flight, you can handle all the various things that will happen. Things do not go according to plan all the time. There are too many things which can go awry, weather, mechanicals, all sorts of things. The aviation industry knows about these things. It plans for these things. It has contingencies. It has backups upon backups. You, as a passenger, or anywhere else for that matter, elevators, tunnels, bridges, you need to have a backup that says no matter what happens, I can handle this. And you need to become very aware of your safety behaviors. They fall into one of several categories. What you physically do, how you think, the sort of automatic thoughts that come in, and therefore the feelings that arise, in addition to the sensations that may be brought on initially by, say, movement or noises, or by your very thoughts, creating a threat response to which your body automatically reacts, to which you then have further thoughts that might say, oh my God, I knew this would happen, I'm in real trouble now, I don't know what to do, I need some medication, I need another drink, I need to get up and walk around, if that's what it might be. Okay? So one of the first forms of treatment we need to do is to assess what are this person's safety behaviors, what's the underlying thinking that says that if I do this, I'll feel safer, or more importantly, I'll feel less discomfort. So the two parts are, what can we do to manage the sense of discomfort and be with it, that is, teach people how to cope with that discomfort because it's likely to happen, and B, are we overemphasizing the importance of doing a certain set of tasks or rituals so I can manage myself better? Are we setting ourselves up here for superstitious behavior? I can only do this if certain rules are met. Because when it comes to overcoming anxiety, you've got to be able to go with the flow much more than a set of rigid rules that say things have to be this way, otherwise I cannot cope and therefore I must avoid this behavior. So that's my little work for you on safety behaviors. If you have some safety behaviors that I haven't mentioned, I'm sure there are some that pertain to all sorts of interesting issues. They look like rituals, they look like superstitious, lucky charm kind of things. I've got to wear Dad's St. Christopher's medal, whatever it might be. Maybe I have to wear green underwear because it's worked for me so far. Let's be aware of the sort of little ritual superstitions that we set up, and even some of the smartest people that I meet in my therapy rooms will bring forward certain superstitious beliefs, which of course don't get labelled as superstitious. This is just the way I am. Well, they need to be challenged if we're going to get forward with this. I hope you enjoyed this. If you do have some safety behaviours I haven't mentioned, write them down and I'll be sure to respond to it. Thanks. Bye-bye.